Good morning, everyone. If you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning. It is August 18th. This is the Broadwater County Commissioners Business Meeting. Welcome. Thanks for coming. And to start the day, we will just one quick agenda item. The 10:30 appointment, Carla Bossi, County Attorney, Market Adjustment for Employees is canceled. And we'll reschedule that at her request. So with that, we'll start with public comment. Is there any public comment? Bill?
Bill Kearns, I just wanted to reflect on your previous meeting on the mosquito district. Seemed from listening to the discussion that I'd like to suggest that maybe the commissioners look at maybe another unit and maybe trying to fund that a little better, the mosquito deal, and maybe then I guess you have to find a place to store the unit or something, but it just seemed to me if you did a little more work on that, that you'd have a lot better program. And I know this was a bad year, but we do have bad years, and then some years it isn't needed, but that was my suggestion.
Thank you very much. And I have to back us up. I was gone last week and completely lost my head as far as what we're supposed to be doing here. So I apologize. Just a couple of housekeeping reminders. We do have a Broadwater County civility policy, also known as the public meeting policy, and we do follow Robert's Rules of Order. The purpose is to open our meetings to all Broadwater County citizens. We realize we have a fiscal and fiduciary responsibility to conduct county business as efficiently as possible for all our residents. Commission meetings are recorded and are on YouTube, so please state your full name prior to any public comment. Any separate conversations need to be removed outside. Outbursts will not be tolerated, and public comment will give each person who wishes to speak an initial 3 minutes to do so. All comments need to be directed to the board chairman. So with that, do we have any more public comments? Ed?
Ed Schindel with Broadwater County Rural Fire District. We've got a deal going with our burn permits as far as being able to see our neighboring counties if they've got fires going. And we've got a request from the Fire Wardens Association for making it available for a site that they've got on board, and they want to connect to it so they can see if something big is going on or what's started, if they can get a deal out on the website so people can see what's going on. Is there a problem with that as far as, all it'll be is information only, they can't get in and do anything to it. It'd just be so somebody can see if there's a fire going. Is there any problem with that with you guys, or?
This would be under the items for review, discussion, action, and signature at the bottom, and would probably fall under county safety issues. I don't have a single problem with it, the board.
I think it makes sense.
All right, go for it,
That way
Ed.
we'll be able to see what's going on in Lewis and Clark and everywhere else too, so. Okay,
We
thank
have
you.
such a strong mutual aid, it makes
Yeah.
sense to me that we share information.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any more public comment? John?
John Wright. Laura, I'm filing a formal complaint against your actions using against citizens as well as the commission using Robert's Rules of Procedure, which is not a law of this land. It's no more not a law than communism. They both have the same ultimate destination. You're using it at will against us. It is a criminal act. It is a violation. It's a state of insanity for somebody to sit up there and beat and gavel and scream and holler like you've lost your mind. Now, I don't want to see it again. If there is, there will be a follow-up on it. Now, Robert's Rules of Procedure is not a law of this land. It's only in your mind, and I think your mind has got disturbed. Now, I reserve the right for the time I have left over for this 3 minutes at any one time in this mission today or this afternoon to intercede at my discretion, not yours. Understand that. Thank you.
All right, any other public comment? Public comment? All right. With that, thank you very much, Bill, for your comments. That addressing the issues of the citizens is important, so I appreciate your input on that. Ed, again, go for it. John Wright, you are 100% incorrect, but thank you for your comments. And with that, we will go ahead and go on into Montana Minute. Anyone for Franklin, do you have a Montana Minute? Something good to say about our community?
Everything keeps it going pretty good. Got a little rain, kind of fouled up some of the hand, but it was still, we never want to go against rain in this area.
Elaine?
You know, I've been in Utah the last 2 weeks on family emergency, and coming home was beautiful. Utah's a nice state, but boy, it was good to come back home. So
Yeah.
I think we're lucky to live where we do.
Absolutely. I was also out of state this week. I was at a forum in Criminal Justice Association forum in Colorado, and it was fascinating, but the best part about going was coming home. One of the issues they're dealing with is marijuana. Recreational use was legalized, and it's brought a whole lot of issues up that nobody saw coming. So anyway, the best part about traveling was coming home. So, any Montana minutes? All right. Ed, you can go first.
Ed Schindel, again, being in this county, we've been very lucky. Everybody's taking care of the fires and stuff. We've had absolutely zero for fires, so thanks the public on that too.
Thank you, and let's hope that continues. Tim, you were second.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Tim Ravendall. I just would like to bring special attention to an event that we had here on this last week, the dedication of Highway 287 in honor of our MIA POW veterans. We had that come through. I don't know why that's doing that. I apologize. Anyway, I am really wanting to give kudos out this morning to our Post 42 American Legion. They lined our streets here in Townsend as over 150, numbers have varied, between 150 and 200 patriots on motorcycles coming through on the inaugural ride of the Memorial Highway 287. It was very special to be part of that, and the citizens should be proud of our efforts to recognize our troops. Last on that particular item, we have a citizen here in Broadwater County, Rick McGee. His brother, Patrick, is missing in action from the Vietnam era, and so it was very special to get home here locally, and to have that recognition here in Townsend and for our veterans is just outstanding, and we need to give kudos to everyone that came out on that day, including those that were standing by at Toston, joint effort there with the hoedown. So we had some really good positive events in Broadwater County this last week, and I'm hoping that we can continue getting that positive message out for the people of the world, that Broadwater County is the best place to live in Montana. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Montana minutes? Bill?
Bill Kearns, I noticed in the paper that a Jim Richards from Townsend set a world marksmanship record, put 10 shots in about a 2-inch area, and this was a national world record. I don't know Jim Richards, I just curious, but it said Townsend, so. Just
I saw that same article.
Did you
I
say
don't know either.
it? I don't know, okay, well, I just thought I'd mention it.
All right, thank you. Any other Montana minutes? Okay. We are at 10:15. Brian Holmes, Solid Waste Monthly Update. Come on up.
Morning,
Good
Morning,
morning.
Brian.
good to be here.
It's good to have you here.
As far as what's going on in the solid waste world, it's kind of business as usual for a change. It's nice. Things have kind of settled down from people doing their spring cleanups, their summer cleanups. Now I'm busy getting old baling twine taken care of and that kind of stuff. The biggest thing that went on, I think, in the last month is we had an issue with our transfer truck. They had to replace the clutch fan on that. That's getting replaced this morning. But it didn't shut us down. We were able to do a patch together to keep it running, so that should be up and running this afternoon. Again, canister rental has been busy. We've had a lot of people doing roofs and that kind of thing. Staying caught up with that. The lime plant that did a pretty significant remodel. We've been busy up there. And last time I was here, I had a question about who was covering the workers' compensation for the folks from White Sulphur that were baling cardboard. Did some checking into that. Had a discussion with the guy that's doing that yesterday, and they have decided to get out of the cardboard business. They were trying to run it as a profit-making entity, and it just isn't there. It doesn't pencil out, so they're probably going to haul maybe one load over in September and bail that up, and that'll be done. So that issue kind of took care of itself. The other side of the cardboard deal, we shipped, we had like 80, almost 90 bales of cardboard shipped out last month. We brought in about $2,000 of revenue for that. So
What time frame does that cover?
that was about 3 months. That includes Bob's IGA and what we bailed out. So it probably didn't generate enough money to pay for itself, but it kept 100 tons of cardboard out of the waste stream to the landfill. So,
How many trips is that guesstimating?
oh, just cardboard alone would be about 2 in our semi, unbaled. Yeah, we could probably get, it'd be about 4 trips if it were not baled. So,
So when you add those savings, that has to be equated into that as well.
yeah, it makes sense if you look at the big picture. Plastic, we had the compactor box for plastic. We took that down. It was full. It was over full. We took it to Four Corners Recycling. We had 5,100 pounds of plastic in there. The Four Corners guys said, you know, we haul them, they're usually 3,700 pounds. So we stuffed it. And we probably overstuffed it because it was hard to get empty. But that's a tougher one to justify whether it makes sense or not, because the price for plastic just isn't there. And, but it does keep it out of the landfill waste stream, and we don't have to haul it in our truck there. So, you know, we could collect it and haul it to the landfill. It would be probably cheaper than hauling it to over. But we'll look at that as we go on and see if it still makes sense.
How many loads would that be, do you think? Again, guesstimate.
It's hard to say with plastic because of the compaction in that box, and we don't in our semi. But that 40-yard canister would put probably a quarter of a load in our semi. So,
How much does that 5,000 pounds bring in revenue?
I haven't got paid for it yet, so I don't know. I think plastic is running about $80 a ton right now, so it probably paid the fuel bill to drive it down there and back. But who knows?
But the good news is it's kept out of.
Yeah, we didn't have to haul it in the landfill, so it saves us, over time, it saves landfill space, so. Well, for garbage, that will go away eventually. Plastic does.
No.
I think that's about it. Any questions?
Not from me, no. I've gotten nothing but good phone calls. People appreciate the cleanup.
We have had a couple people from the south end of the county call, wondering where they could take their garbage, and I had to tell them Logan. And I don't know if they were happy about that or not, but it's just the way it is.
I think there's a growing number down there, once again, showing some interest.
I've mentioned that with the solid waste board, that we might want to brush that off again and talk to those folks again. But that's as far as it's gone.
Yeah.
We may be in a spot where we need to order a couple more canisters, 20-yard canisters for cardboard collection to use at Raidersburg and Toston. We've got trailers out there right now, and people are using them, they're picking up. It would just be easier to have a 20-yard can there that we could haul with our truck and use the trailers elsewhere around town, so we don't have to haul those so far. But we're discussing that with the solid waste board to have a decision shortly. Canister runs, I think they're about $7,000 or $8,000 now. So. And it's figured into our budget to get those if we need. And it would, we seem to have a growing need for rental canisters, so it would be nice to have a couple more here that we could use.
Mhm. It's a good service that saves everybody. Yeah.
How long do they normally rent them for?
We like to keep it to about a week. You know, we'll ask them, you know, how long you're gonna need it, especially the smaller 20-yard cans. We like to keep those only about a week on the job site. Bigger ones, if they have a way to load them, we can leave those a little longer. But like a roof job on a house, we like to keep it under a week, just so it's not tied up forever.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Anything else?
And then what's the rent for the canister?
We charge a delivery fee, depending on where you live in the county. It goes from $25 to $100. And then it's $50 a ton for disposal for trash, $35 for trees and brush. But like a large 40-yard can full will run somebody about $300 for disposal.
Very good. Any more questions for Brian?
Not for me.
All right, thank you, Brian.
All right, thanks.
Job well done.
Still wait board members?
Yes, we still need board members, if anybody's interested.
All right, our 10:30 again is canceled, so we'll just go ahead and jump right into mail. This was just an ad that came out. This is from the law offices of Hawkins and Sorensen LC, and this is, they're advertising their auditing services and a book on corruption. We do attend fraud trainings, and that's one of the reasons that we have a countywide audit that every year. But historically, those only catch about up to 10%, so it's really up to county commissioners and treasurers, accountants to attend the trainings. we have from the Montana Fish and Wildlife and Parks, a letter from Patrick Flowers, and he is retiring. And this is I think anybody who dedicates themselves to public service should be honored when they retire, and I think those kind of antics, Tim, are juvenile and inappropriate. This is a letter from this gentleman letting us know who will be available to help us in the future with the issues that come up. Next, we have from Riverside Contracting, Inc., a letter that they will be opening an open cut mining permit. And this is for 38.7 acres in the Toston area. And if we would like a request for public hearing, the Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, is accepting requests for a public meeting of the following proposed open mining permit. This isn't something that the commission would necessarily facilitate, other than asking DEQ to hold it so that they could inform the citizens of their plans.
Isn't that field right south of the bar?
Yeah, yeah, I got that letter. Same thing. It's just a formality they have to go through on all these construction jobs.
You don't need to see it?
No, I got the same thing. But I mean, to have it here again,
Mm-hmm.
that's good, and the hot mix plant and the crusher here, so they, like, it's just a formality they have to go through. And
Is
their
that
construction
right?
side. Huh?
Is Leonard on that field?
No, Bob Hazen, Leonard owned it at one time.
It has been practice of the commission to go ahead and request that DEQ hold the public hearing to inform the citizens. Do you guys want to continue that?
Sure.
Franklin?
To do what now?
It's called a public hearing.
Yeah.
DEQ will hold it, facilitate it, it's their meeting, and it's to inform the public of what they plan to do. The reason that the commission has supported that in the past is because we do have such businesses in the county already. And it's a way to keep them informed and answer any questions from the public as to why another company is coming in doing something that the locals doing.
No, there's no reason for it. For one thing, nobody locally could handle that job. That's a, I don't know how many $1 million job. They're gonna be going through about 400,000 yards of gravel and hot mix. I mean, it's gonna be done no matter who's doing it, if it's Riverside or if it's Schillinger or whatever. So, I mean, there's no reason, it's just more bureaucracy to have another hearing and stuff, because it's gotta be done, that's all there is to it. And the EPA watches what they do as far as their emissions and stuff like that.
But doesn't this be a way for people to know what's going on?
Well, I guess it would, I mean, everybody knows what it is when a construction job goes, you know? I mean, it's just another one, I mean, you can't change anything,
No.
you know, so it's, like I say, just another bureaucracy to have a meeting and all that stuff.
We have, as you are well aware, had citizens come forward and say, hey, why didn't anybody tell me?
Mhm.
And that's when we started requesting that DEQ hold these public hearings so that everybody had every opportunity to know what's going on, get the answers to questions, or not show up, which is fine too. But it is important, I think, to at least let the public have an opportunity to ask the professionals the questions they might have. So with that, this request needs to be made by September 12th. Since we are not in agreement, do you want me to put it on the next agenda?
No, I'm gonna make the motion to go ahead and do it.
Okay. Franklin, you're not gonna second, I'm taking it from your laughter?
Yeah, there's no reason for it.
Okay. I am also going to, I don't know that this is something we necessarily need a vote, but I am going to second the motion and call for a vote just so that everything is as clear as possible. All those in favor of requesting that DEQ do indeed hold a public meeting to fully inform the public of the intent, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
I'll state my reason again. The job's gonna be done one way or the other. I mean, it's just another, you wanna have another meeting and stuff, but just a bunch of bureaucracy. Everything's, this was all planned in when they put out the original bids. The only difference at that particular time, it was up to the contractor to come up with the site, and they were all within a half a mile of the one they're gonna use. All the other sites were.
That's for crushing gravel and,
Yeah, it's for that road job south there.
yeah.
It's, I don't know, around 400,000 yards they're gonna be using.
I'm shutting it off.
And see, they'll set up a hot mix, you know,
Yeah.
like they do on every project.
They do
they're
on
in.
every highway job.
Yeah, throughout the country.
What will this meeting cost us county taxpayers to have this meeting?
Oh, I don't think it cost us anything, but,
All right, next we have a letter from Don Reynolds. This is a thank you note. Dear Broadwater County Commissioners, thank you for approving the 50/50 raffle for the fundraiser for Heritage Community Gardens. The drawing was held on August 9. We collected $34, sold 34 tickets, and the winner of the drawing is Ronnie Danielson of Townsend. He donated the money back to Heritage Gardens. And they had a tour on August 9th of Heritage Gardens and some other gardens around the county. Sorry, pass that along. Next, we have just a report from the silos water reports, and looks like a clear report. That's from the Montana Department of Environmental Quality.
How often do they have to check those?
I think they do it monthly.
monthly, I believe.
Thank you. Next, we have an invitation to the Airport Association meeting for airport owners and policymakers, and as that is a county airport, we are sent an invitation.
We should give them that. We're gonna have to request it.
I find myself looking back.
I do too, I still look over there all the time.
Next, from the Montana Department of Transportation, this is a series, I'm just gonna send them all to you, excuse me, to review. These are the, for highway purposes, the state of Montana Department of Transportation, these are parcel references for the easements for the upcoming project.
Is that the Dawson South project?
Mhm.
I guess there's, one of those is mine in there.
Right there.
Is that it there? I got all this.
My goodness. Well done.
Yeah.
What amount do they come in? And
Pardon?
all the property owners through there, the highway's gonna be wider, so they bought some ground from all the ranchers through there.
Yeah.
And then move the power line over, and then they're also moving the Dawson irrigation pipeline from Lone Mountain Road to Dawson Dam over too. That's part of the project.
I thought Dan Hunsaker sold out.
Actually, suppose the name might still be on it, maybe.
I don't know, might be.
Just otherwise, unless they'd have a little corner there somewhere,
Yeah,
but they, which they could have it, what does it say? Let's see, Van Dyken has the presence.
right.
Okay, next we have from the Department of Public Service Regulation. This is a change to, from one of their dockets, Nelson Studios LLC, and it's involving Nevada City, Montana. Even though that's not us, if you have any friends that live there, you might want to let them know. I want these letters in instead of these for the minutes. Okay, all right. Those are two. Next, we have from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This is regarding the southern border of Broadwater County, and they have fixed the maps.
Excuse me, question, Madam Chair?
Just a minute.
So 285 is, am I correct, that's the road to Statesburg?
That's 284, I think.
Nope,
Is
it's
it
284 my
285?
way.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
285 is Ramford Road.
All right, last for just mail is the timesheets, and these need to be signed in and turned into Debbie in order to get your paychecks. And that practice wasn't done, and that was an error on the part of the county, and she is being required to adhere to it, and has been since she took over. All right, Tim, did you have a question on the mail?
Just a quick question on the FEMA declaration on the boundary. Is the boundary currently going to be where it's at, or was it revised back to where it was before the channel changed?
No, the channel changing had no effect.
Okay,
The boundaries, the lines are determined by GIS, it's not by the river. That was the original setting, but that is no longer how we determine boundary lines. That's what they fixed.
so has the boundary line follow-up changed from the last census?
No,
Okay, thank you.
this one in a pile. If you would sign these, we can review those. I think I have a few more.
I have a question on this. Why are we paying for the water to be fixed at the gazebo? That looks to me like that's City of Townsend.
At the gazebo, that might be, is it the silos?
Oh,
So,
right.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, no, you're right, though, that gazebo is privately owned, so we wouldn't be.
Are you ready for me?
We are, no, I got a text this morning that you.
Yeah, I was gonna postpone it, but I can
If you
move
want
it.
to, yeah, we can go ahead and, keep on the agenda, cancel the cancellation for Carla Bossi, County Attorney, Market Adjustment for Employees.
I had the gals put together the research, and I hadn't had as much of a chance as I wanted to go over it, but I did have some time before, earlier this morning, so. Essentially, I'm looking for a market wage adjustment for the two positions in my office. One is legal secretary / assistant, the other is a victim witness advocate. 3/5 of the time, 2/5 of the time, she is a administrative assistant to my office. And basically, we looked at salaries for these similar positions throughout Montana. And while there are a few, a handful of counties that pay as abysmally low or lower than us, for the most part, they're well below prevailing wage for these positions throughout Montana. So my proposition is to raise their salaries to $19.50 an hour, including benefits. Well, no, that would be the salary with fringe on top of that. So I guess that's the short of it, and I'm happy to hear any questions you have. I do have paperwork that I can share with you that shows what the range of salaries are at county attorney offices.
Speak up, we can't hear you.
Can we have a copy of those, please?
Yes, I will get that to you. I don't have it right now, but I can run across the hall and make copies right after we're done.
All right, any questions for Carla on the board?
I don't think so.
Where are we as far as the pay with the market adjustments?
That would bring us closer to what's this sort of average for the state. Next door, well, we have actually a certified paralegal who serves in our legal secretary assistant position. Right now, both those salaries are at, I believe, $16 after last year's COLA. In neighboring Jefferson County, the paralegal makes $30 an hour. So that gives you some idea, and that's very not out of line with what is typical for somebody with that education and training. They range from the mid-20s down to $14 an hour, depending on what county you're looking at. But again, my feeling is we shouldn't be looking at keeping ourselves firmly in the bottom of the pack, especially when the funds are there. I paid out of my own pocket to have a piece published in the newspaper this week, which you'll all have an opportunity to read, responding to some very unfair and only partially true allegations about how I've utilized the budget in my office. But the fact of the matter is, when I came on board, as you're aware, this position had gone to full-time. So when I first sat down with the city about providing city attorney services, I explained that I could not pocket the city attorney money as a separate salary as the prior county attorney had done, because he was 85% instead of full-time. But instead requested that that money go into my office department budget in order to fund certain things that I immediately recognized were necessary. The computers were very out of date. The office was a mess. The office physically had not had any meaningful renovation in about a quarter of a century, and was really kind of in a bad way. So over the past 2 years, using those funds, we have completely renovated our approach to prosecution work in terms of, we have new computers, we have a case management system, we have a backup server, we digitize everything, we cut our postage budget like by 3/4 by doing digital discovery, which is very common. It's the accepted method in the federal courts, so there's nothing new or crazy there. This year we used money to physically renovate the office, which included carpet paint, a new room for the inevitable day when a deputy county attorney is necessary in this office. The numbers justify it now, but politically I realize that that may be a little while coming, but it's going to happen eventually. And yes, we have 3 of the offices have matching furniture, etc., so that we present a professional face to the citizens and anybody interacting with our office. During that process, I still managed to squirrel away over $20,000 into CIP. So we have saved $20,000 using the same budget that, I came in fiscal year 2012, or 2013 with a budget that had already been set before I got here. So we managed to save quite a bit of money and still do all this stuff. And my feeling is that now it's the appropriate use of the city attorney fees paid by the city to my department, which should be no different than when the city pays the sheriff for sheriff's fees, for policing work. But the appropriate use of those funds going forward is to benefit the hardworking employees in my office and to bring them somewhere into an average of what employees with the same titles and the same responsibilities make elsewhere in the state of Montana, including in neighboring counties, which would be attractive to them if they decided they didn't want to continue to work for well below the average wage in their field. Ask a question.
What kind of training does paralegal have to go through?
They have I believe it's a 2-year, maybe a little bit longer college course it varies from institution to institution, but it's fairly substantially similar college coursework that they have to go through before they achieve paralegal certification. And then it requires continuing education, just like any other licensed profession. So they have to, on periodic occasion, take conferences and get their legally required continuing education. Whether or not they're going to stay in their job for another year, they have to get that every year.
Those are CLE courses.
CLE courses, yes. One thing I will say is that while there is not a specific educational background required for the victim witness advocate position, it is critically important work. We are blessed to have Ms. Dolan in that position. From my own history of working many years as a victim advocate, there's a certain aspect to that work that you simply can't train somebody for. They just have to have a very compassionate and patient nature, and Ms. Dolan has that in spades, and we're very grateful. I'm very grateful to have had her in the office, and I think we should do whatever we can to both recognize and reward her work, make it clear that she's a valued employee. So again, these wages, and we looked at all the counties, so of course it varies somewhat by population, and it is sometimes the smaller populated or less wealthy communities that are paying less on the scale. That's not always the case, but it roughly runs true. What I'm asking for, again, would put them toward the higher end, but we have the money, the funds are there. I've had Ms. Kelly run the budget both ways. The only increases, and I'm certainly not looking for it, whether I would be staying or not, the county attorney's salary is set somewhat by state requirements, but also by the county contribution. There's no place else for the money to go except to the deputy county attorney, which, as again I've said when I came to visit you last fall, that is, I believe, a need of the office, but I'll leave it up to the next county attorney to make his own decision with regard to that, and then advocate for additional funding to the program. I think the funding that we have should be applied to this endeavor. I don't think it will use up the entirety, and we do still have, as I mentioned, a little over $20,000 in CIP, which I would hope that the office can hang on to for instance, we didn't furnish the new office space. We left that with just odds and ends that were left over from our remodel, and or any, other computer equipment generally lasts 5 to 7 years. So we're almost 2 years into the life of the computers we just purchased. They get used very heavily every single day that the office is open, and weekends and evenings too when I'm there. So that's a good thing to have all the money squirreled away, so that when one of them or all of them need to be replaced, we don't have to worry about trying to tap into emergency funds or anything of that nature.
Franklin, you had gotten a phone number for MSU to do an overall market investigation into Broadwater County employee salaries. Where are you at on that?
Well, I never made contact, I left messages, and so I just kind of dropped. I guess I could check again, but,
I think that's an important thing to follow up on and actually have done. So perhaps we can put that on the agenda for next week? You'd let us know where you're at with that?
I'll make a couple more phone calls if I get through, fine.
I guess I wouldn't want my employees, you know, are obviously hopeful about this process, and I wouldn't want that to be hostage to whether or not that task is completed. They spent the time, and I spent some time as well. Essentially, you know, it wasn't all that difficult. We basically just called around to the Human Resources Department of various counties, wherever the information wasn't readily available online. Some counties have their salaries, and some counties are very digitized, others are not. I'll make copies of this and distribute it to you. And are you basically saying you'd like to think about it for a week and meet again next week, or?
That would be my preference for two reasons. One, I want to see where we're at on the budget a bit more, and we have a meeting on Wednesday. I don't see any reason why we can't actually finalize the budget then, but we'll see. But two, Corey Swanson had wanted to be here for this discussion, and I did email him this morning after I got your text and said this had been canceled. So I do think that if he wants to be here, that we should give him that ability, and also contact Jack Morris, even though he didn't put the same request. But I do think both gentlemen should have the opportunity to be here for that discussion. So for those two reasons, I would like to table it. Any reaction from the board?
No, I agree.
Franklin?
Yeah, because there'll be a new county attorney in just a few months, so.
Well, that's not at all what I'm saying. I think that these employees have been with us for a very long time. We need to address the issue. I'm just putting forth a courtesy to let them be here for discussion. And as far as the victim witness, I don't know if you're aware of this, Carla, but has just opened a training and a field of study and degree for victim witnesses, and they would really like Brooke to take part. She is well respected around the state. The dean himself approached me about her being a part of it. He said he didn't feel that necessarily she needed the training, but he would appreciate her being through the process to help others and share her experiences, which I thought was a nice compliment. So just to share that with you, but yeah, we will go ahead and table this till next week. All right, and in the meantime, if you could get us the documentation, that would
Absolutely.
be good. All right, thank you. All right, 10:45, PILT allocation decisions. We had, I think, one thing we talked about, that there were some departmental requests. Oh, the safety, we talked about this at our last working meeting 2 weeks ago. Safety needs a budget. How much do we want to do that for? Should it come out of PILT is question number one. And question number two is we did agree at that meeting to pay for something in the senior center annually that is a bigger ticket item, and that being the sink this year. So I think we should just put that as an official vote and decision, so that we can go ahead and let Mike know, so that when he has time, he can work with the senior center on that. Unless there's any follow-up discussion on that particular issue. Franklin?
No.
I think it's needed.
All right. And then regarding the senior center sink, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to allocate PILT funds to pay for a 3-section sink as required by the sanitation for the Broadwater County Senior Center Dinner Club. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. As far as the safety budget, I would like to wait and look at the budget on Wednesday before making a solid decision. Is that agreeable to the board?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Was there another, I thought there were 3 things, am I forgetting something? You guys can think of. Okay, I'm gonna ask that we table that then, in case we remember it this afternoon or on Wednesday. Is that agreeable?
Mhm.
All right. All right, also on PILT, we have the ambulance building that we had to move into last year due to issues with overcrowding and some other things that had come up. It's much more expensive for that department to be paying for the heat and the sewer and electric for that building than it is for them to be paying for their basement office that they had. Last year, we determined to pay that out of PILT. This year, we had planned to actually have an alternative for that department to start saving this money, but of course, that has not happened at this point. So what I would like to know from the board is, how do you guys propose that we pay the Northwestern Energy and City of Townsend fees for that space for right now? We're borrowing the building, we do not pay rent on it. We don't know how long this will be for or what it looks like. We do have work that we've been doing to try and address this issue, but for the time being, we do not have a solid solution. So what say you?
I say take the money out of PILT, and replace with that.
How much is it?
Probably end up having to take it out of PIL, all right, but just wait and see what we got for sure in the budget.
Well, we're talking about PILT right now, and we know that we received $573,000 this year, and we know that right now we have about 850 to
Well,
1.1
yeah, I
million.
realize that. The thing is, how much are we gonna keep taking out of PIL?
Well, this
As long
is
as we're getting it,
because,
we're okay.
this is because we have not been able to get the commission to agree on moving forward with an agreed upon plan to address this issue. So this is another temporary that we're spending more money on until we can do something about addressing the fact that this commission has work to do.
It looks to me like it's just a hair over $300 a month.
Yeah, from this bill, yes. So of course, it goes up in the winter time,
Oh, of course.
and substantially because of the inadequate insulation and need to keep the ambulances heated. Which again, should be addressed, but we'll see what we can get done. So, I would entertain a motion to, whatever effect this board wants to go.
You know, I had to interrupt you for just a minute.
Sure.
You know, I'm hearing snickers and laughs all over. This is supposed to be adults, and I think it's important that we act as adults, every single one in here. I think that it's disrespectful to the people of Broadwater County, and most of all, it's disrespectful to you yourself.
Well, you should practice the
John?
same thing.
That's enough. That's enough. Thank you, Elaine.
I also move.
Okay, do we have a second?
To pay with the PIL, is that the motion? Yeah, we do it before.
It's been moved and seconded to continue to pay the extension office, City of Townsend and Northwestern Energy bills until a solid resolution is agreed upon by this board from PIL. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. anything else on tilt before we take a question? Okay, yes. And state your name for the record.
Dwayne Holland. Does the ambulance get a fee for transporting or anything like that? And why doesn't this money come out of that department instead of PILT? Why
Because-
can't they pay their own bills?
The extension service is not the ambulance service, they're two different things. As far as how the ambulance is funded, the county actually has mills. Citizens pay mills for ambulance service. As far as why it isn't being paid by another department, because we actually signed a letter of agreement that we would borrow that office space during a time of need until we figured out what our plan was. At the time, we were working on the building project that has languished of late due to inappropriate rumors and stories in the public that have created, John, that's enough. This is an adult meeting. I'm gonna ask everyone to act as such. Thank you. As far as that goes, that was an agreement, and until we get our solution figured out, this is the position we're in.
We pay the electrical bill, they can't afford to pay that out of their money? I guess that's what I'm asking is,
That's your opinion.
no,
And that's not-
no, it isn't my opinion, it's what you said.
Okay, thank you. Trudy, is that a handout?
Yes, Trudy
Yes.
Southwick. So if the ambulance was the only thing that was in the building, does the county still pay to heat that, or is that from the ambulance fund?
Nope, that would be probably paid from the hospital district fund, not from the county. The only reason we're paying it is because we signed an agreement with the hospital that is a trade for using their space for our office space.
I'm just curious about going forward, if, when Extension moves out of there, if that's something the county would still pay, or if it's from somewhere else, so, thank
Yep,
you.
that would go to the hospital district.
Okay, thanks.
All right, with that, we are at
Laura,
11 o'clock.
I got a question.
Yes, John?
What is causing all of this overcrowding that you referred to in the basement, which didn't cost the taxpayers much money? What is causing, and what is the reason, and what is the explanation for the overcrowding?
There's several. The first is, over the last census, Broadwater County grew in population by 26%. Every year since then, we have grown at 2.4% annually. That growth has increased the number of services this county needs to provide and has increased the requirements that this county has in order to provide those services. That overcrowding has resulted in a number of offices being shared. And then we had an issue in which we had to do something very quickly to address a personnel issue. And one of the things to address that was moving Extension next door so that we have some office space to work with. Without that, we had nothing to work with. So with that, we are at 11 o'clock. Mike Conkey, DES upgrade, EMPG grant approval decision, Deep Creek grant discussion. Mike is with the fire unit in Idaho right now. He is part of the mutual aid under DNRC. He did call last week to say he was being deployed to fight fire. It doesn't look like anybody is here to speak in his stead. So we will go ahead and just table that until next week or what time that Mike gets back. We'll double check with Sean that nothing needs to be done in the immediate on this, and if so, we'll address that on Wednesday if that's agreeable to the board.
That's fine.
Okay, we will go back to mail.
Madison, minutes, okay.
We are going to, because there's some suggested edits that came in late, we're going to address those after lunch, after each of us has a chance to read them and make sure that what's printed there is okay. And I'm just going to put these in the claims pile now that they're signed. We do have claims, and this is for fiscal year 14 in the amount of $32,275.68.
I'll make a motion to pay claims, $32,275.68.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims from fiscal year 14 in the amount of $32,275.68. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We have approved claims from fiscal year 15, 8/6/2014 in the amount of $59,022.76.
I'll make a motion to pay the claim.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims in the amount of $59,022.76 for voucher date 8/6/2014. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I have payroll in the amount of $160,873.43.
So,
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the payroll in the amount of $160,873.43. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye, motion carries. We have a continuing grant, and this is with the Health Department. This is the WIC program. It's a grant that runs from July 1, 2012 until June 30, 2019, but we do sign on an annual basis to re-up the grant. And that is what we have here. We provide the WIC services also to Jefferson County through this grant, and I don't see a specific total. I believe it is reimbursed as we provide the services, we being Broadwater County Health Department. So, there you go. It is a continuing grant. These are all three the same.
How did it go? 3 copies. Here's the total budget, $43,433.
Excellent. They're all three the same. We've already approved the grant, this is just the single year within the 7-year period. Then I would entertain a motion to go ahead and sign this grant for our health department.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the single year, 2015, within the 7-year grant with DPHHS, Department of Public Health and Human Services, for the WIC program. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. question from the board. We have a claim here. We had a situation where we did not have any IT service. We had one employee who was volunteering her time to fill in, but really not in her job description, was taking time away from her job. It just was not the right thing to be doing. We agreed over a couple of months' time to contract IT services with DIS. DIS is substantially less expensive than Morrison Merrily, which we saw from the quotes. We had a couple of departments working on their own with Morrison Merrily, which was extremely expensive. The amount of money for their trip here was being charged the minute they left Helena. Their cost per hour was outrageous, over 300. I don't remember the exact total. And then their time working on any issue was on top of that. Very, very expensive relationship a couple of departments on their own had with Morrison Merrily. So to address a more wise IT service for the county, we looked at a countywide plan for IT. And for some reason, we now have one department who has said they don't want to pay. They don't want to be part of this. They have not said they want to just work with Morrison Merrily, but they are saying they just don't want to pay. So it is the sheriff's department, and it is for a 1.5 hours of IT support at $127.50. And so my question is, well, what do you guys want to do about it? The job done was connected to Cisco ASA 5505 via console port. Reset enabled password and created a new account for DIS. It was tested unsuccessfully, reloaded a blank configuration and reassigned user permission for DIS account. Subsequent test was successful. And this was done from 12:40 to 2 o'clock on July 2nd, 2014. There's no complaint as to the service. It just says sheriff refuses to pay because of switchover, not sheriff's office. So do you guys want to table this and talk to Brenda?
Why did you talk to Brenda?
Okay. All right. Certainly, I don't know. I don't even have a guess as to why. I mean, even this bill, $127.50, is far less than we would have paid Morrison Merrily for the same amount of time. So, I'm confused. But we'll put that on the agenda for next week. And then before we go to lunch, we're having lunch at the senior center today. I wanted to talk to you guys about the 2:45 appointment with Troy Benson with Morning Sky Estates. Did you guys see the email from Lewis and Clark County regarding the Hampton case? Okay. Their county attorney, deputy county attorney, is going to challenge that with the Supreme Court. That is a different case, but it is to do with subdivisions. And there's also a number of county commissioners, no county attorneys yet, that really I don't think has been broached with any, that are looking at our particular situation and saying this doesn't fit. The issue is that the BLM case, which is not Bureau of Land Management, but a subdivision in Calhoun County, that was given to the Supreme Court to make a decision, resulted in the Supreme Court saying a subdivision that is subdivided but never marketed, no lots are ever sold, and it continues in the same use as it was prior to subdivision, stays as ag tract land or ag land in the tax brackets. What we're finding is there's a number of different ag classifications, and non-qual is the least expensive. We have some situations where subdivisions were built and planned on productive ag land, irrigated ag land that was taxed at a certain ag rate. That once that was done and those lots were marketed and sold, some out as much as 60%, they, Department of Revenue has taken that BLM case and said, well, those unsold lots are still going to be taxed at non-qual rates. And we know this from our talk with DOR that because it's no longer productive ag land, it's the least, it's non-productive ag land. So, I would like a couple of things. One is I'd like us to talk about getting together with some other county commissioners and perhaps challenging the use of the BLM decision on other subdivisions that don't match. Two, we have an appointment with the planning board on Wednesday, and I would like to ask them to put together parameters on what subdivisions are eligible for a refund and what that looks like. And of course, that's advisory. We can still make the decision from there. That's an advisory board, I should say. But then also, I emailed Harold and I said, well, how does this work? And he said that when you do have a refund like this, that money comes out of the budgets. So what we're looking at is $73,000 was the amount that Department of Revenue said that we had in money that could be refunded to these subdivisions. That $73,000 comes out of public safety, extension, the museum, the airport, general fund, et cetera, et cetera. That's a big chunk to be taken out of budgets as we get into the year. So I would also like the planning department, since this is subdivision, it's right up their alley, to also determine where that money should come from if they determine that this money needs to be refunded. So those are my thoughts in a nutshell. What do you guys think?
I thought I saw an email, and maybe I'm wrong, that said that we couldn't challenge it.
We actually asked Carla to put together a letter to DOR, challenging them. But as far as anything else that said we couldn't challenge the use of it, I haven't seen that, but maybe it is out there.
I might have read wrong too.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll have to go back and read.
Yeah, and I still think that it's worth a discussion with other counties. Lewis and Clark County's getting hit a lot bigger than we are.
Well, and next week, correct me if I'm wrong, next Wednesday, we have a district meeting. So the commissioners from this district would all be there together.
Is that next week?
I think so, isn't it the 20th?
Oh, that's our,
No, it's,
I thought it was
Friday.
last week.
Friday, whatever, or this Friday, this is Monday, this
Oh,
Friday.
okay,
I
This
thought I
Friday.
missed it.
no.
Okay, so, yeah, that would be something that I would like to talk about at district meeting. I had another couple of questions I asked Harold, and he said I'm gonna have to think this over, so, I stumped him. But, no, I think I would like to at least look into that before giving any kind of a solid answer to anybody, because if we say yes to Morning Sky Estates, we set a precedent where we have to say yes. What you do for one, you have to do for all. We set a precedent of saying yes to everybody. And we do have an email also from Steve Kavanaugh, somewhere here, that says, per the recent court decision, I'm requesting a refund and/or adjustment for lots within the Rolling Glen Ranch subdivision that were or are currently owned by Steve Kavanaugh Limited Partnership, Rolling Glen Ranch Corporation, or Kavanaugh Limited Partnership. He gave a lot of his lots to the bank through the
Not by choice.
not by choice, but he's saying or were owned by Steve Kavanaugh. This is a whole lot more complicated than just refunding a little bit of tax to a taxpayer here and there. This is a serious issue that I think we need to tread lightly and deliberatively and get all the answers before we make any commitments.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay.
I think it's
Oh, yeah,
a loaded gun.
we gotta have some answers first, that's for sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we talked about this before 2:45. anything more than on that decision and that, subject?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Yes, Joan?
Did I misunderstand that you said this meeting he was talking about was the 20th?
I said the 20th, I was wrong.
Oh, okay. Because Wednesday's the 20th.
Yeah.
All right, then, we have, little things for later. I don't see anything else we can bring up unless you guys have some questions. All right, my suggestion, if it's okay with the board, is that we recess until 1:30. Any arguments? No. I'm gonna take the silence as a no too. We are recessed until 1:30. Oh, let me just give this to you guys too. It